And for more on all this, national security and foreign policy analyst Aramesh joins me now from New York. Ari, it's difficult to know what exactly is going on here. Who's telling the truth, who's not? Is this intelligence? Are these photos of these ships real? Are these ships really carrying missiles? Does Donald Trump really want to talk? Does the Ayatollah really not want to talk? What do you think is actually going on behind the scenes that we're not seeing?
It's very difficult to guess what's going on behind the scenes, but based on the evidence, it seems that both sides, now for different reasons, but both sides are untrustworthy. On the one hand, you have chaos within the Trump administration. It's not clear whether key foreign policy decisions are being made at Foggy Bottom or at the National Security Council or by the president himself. The Department of Defense has been working with sort of a nominal head for a while since Jim Mattis resigned. So you have a dysfunctional foreign policy machine, yet makes it interesting because it allows the president, especially someone like President Trump, to make surprise moves and so on and so forth, as we saw with the Koreans. On the other hand, very quickly, the Iranian regime is not one that can be trusted. I mean, they've had their hands in every major and minor instability in the region since 1979. On the other hand, it doesn't necessarily mean that now, during these times of crises, when the threat of war looms large, they are going to continue carrying out those activities that might very much jeopardize peace and stability in the waters of the Persian Gulf.
And Ari, I mean, back to the Trump White House. I mean, do you think that John Bolton is long for Trump world, or is he going to get whacked?
You never know. We've heard President Trump praise many close senior staff, and then a day or two later, sometimes a week later, they were gone. John Bolton, if he's a smart man, and he's a very smart lawyer, he should go along with the president. If he wants his agenda implemented, it's better to get part of his agenda by not alienating the president than none of his agenda by alienating the president. On the other hand, I really would like to believe that President Trump is anti-war in terms of sticking to his promise, his campaign promise of not starting yet another meaningless war in the Middle East. So we should see, but something even to those of us who may not be very much on the same page with President Trump and his foreign policy, there is an element of hope. It's Trump. Trump made 2 years ago. No one would have thought he would make the trip to Ho Chi Minh City and meet with the leader of North Korea, Kim Jong-un, in Vietnam. And no one can predict what can happen. Is this another Nasser goes to Israel sort of moment, or Nixon goes to China kind of moment, or Trump is going to buckle down and buckle in and go down a hardline road?
Now, here's one possibility. Now, listen, we all know that leaders have gone to war in the past for domestic consumption. Let's take a listen to what Trump had to say back in 2011 about Obama. Take a listen to this.
Our president will start a war with Iran because he has absolutely no ability to negotiate. He's weak and he's ineffective. So the only way he figures that he's going to get reelected, and as sure as you're sitting there, is to start a war with Iran.
Any danger you think that President Trump might start a war with Iran in order to get reelected?
As much as President Trump loves to indulge sort of conspiracy theories, and some of which are ridiculous conspiracy theories, I'd like to stay away from that. I don't know. I hope we don't have sort of a wag the dog situation here. But if President Trump is really going to stay true to his promise, he won't start a war. And also, I think a large sort of part of independents, not his base, but some independents were just fed up with the status quo, voted for him because of his very sort of open criticism of these wars, especially as a Republican. Now, again, no one knows what the future holds, especially with President Donald Trump. But if that's going to be the case, we just have to wait and watch.
I mean, listen, right now, Ari, both sides are saying that they do not want war, but we have also seen wars start kind of by mistake in the past. And, today we've been talking about whether these, alleged Iranian threats came after perhaps U.S. threats. I mean, there is a danger that things escalate to a point, that whispers escalate to a point, that something could happen by accident. I mean, is that a genuine, legitimate fear that we should be harboring right now?
Absolutely, and that is my biggest concern. And that is what you raised. It's a fine point. I'm not necessarily worried about a pre-planned war or a pre-planned action or an invasion or massive bombardment. I'm worried about an Iranian vessel in the Persian Gulf, the Strait of Hormuz, coming in contact with an American vessel. Fires exchange, rules of engagement are engaged. And then what's next? Retaliation, counter-retaliation. And you see, we've got a powder keg situation here on hand. Again, I'm not really worried about a conspiracy or a, sort of pre-planned mass invasion for war. What I'm worried about is a little trigger. And a trigger we're talking about is it could be in the form of, a vessel coming into contact with another vessel. Just to give you a small example, do you think President Trump would have the same restraint, or would show the same restraint as President Obama showed when American sailors were captured by the IRGC in the waters of the Persian Gulf, about 4 years ago? So you can see that small little spark here could set this power keg, oil tanker on fire.
Ari, great having you on the show. Thanks for your time.
Pleasure.